Hello everyone, it's your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one only, here with another exciting video. And in this video, I am going to be just kind of talking to you guys. This is another live stream. I do them in the dark. It's weird. It doesn't actually seem that dark in my room if you were like physically here. But looking at what you guys can see, this room looks like super dark. I did a live stream yesterday. You guys seemed to like it. So I decided why not do another one? I think that could just be cool. Let me share my screen. How do I want to go about it? I could share a whole window, and maybe that's what I want to do. Let's see. I think I know what I want to do. So I'm going to share this entire window. Yo, welcome to the stream, Rap King. It's good to have you. Rap King was quick with it. I like just started the stream less than like a minute ago. Have you been? What you been up to today? And do you have any questions for your boy? I was thinking about screen sharing some creativity tools so I can play around with the tools while I'm doing everything. So I think I actually share tabs rather than sharing the whole screen. And thanks to Google Chrome, I can actually do a split view. So now I can see my full tab window, but I can also see the live chat. So feel free to send in messages via the live chat while I'm like playing around with this because I can see both, which is great. Let's see. Rap King said, "Who do you think is a better character and superhero, Batman or Spider-Man?" So this is actually a very interesting question. I am not the biggest fan of Batman. I say, having just read 3 issues of Immortal Legend Batman right before this live stream started. I think my biggest issue with Batman is that he exists in a world where people have superpowers and he's dedicated himself to being the best that he can be. But for some reason, he doesn't try to acquire superpowers. He actually possesses platinum kryptonite, which is a form of kryptonite where if you touch it, it gives you the powers of Superman. And he just refuses to touch it. He refuses to use platinum kryptonite. I think that's stupid. If Batman is really dedicated to being the best that he can possibly be and pushing himself beyond his limits, then I imagine that he would use not only superpowers, but even more advanced gadgets than what he has at his disposal. Batman's gadgets always feel like they're a few generations ahead of what we have in the real world. But his technology, like within the universe of DC, seems like it's kind of behind what you see other people use. So to me, Batman feels like he's kind of half-assing it. Meanwhile, Spider-Man is legitimately trying to do the best that he can with what he has. And he makes suits and gadgets in order to deal with his respective villains. And he doesn't have all the money and resources that Batman has, but he still like pushes himself to try to do his best. And I feel like Spider-Man is legitimately trying to do his best, where Batman not so much. Let's see. Rap King said, "So would you say Batman is overrated?" I understand why Batman is popular. So I don't necessarily think he's overrated per se. But I do think that they should be doing more with Batman. I think part of the reason why they don't do crazier stuff with Batman as a character is because comics are a forever story. Comic books are designed to where if you pick up an issue, if you're familiar with the character, you should more or less know what's going on in the story and just be able to follow along. So if they change the character too much in any particular direction, it can become unfamiliar to readers and jarring, especially for new readers who maybe know Batman from a cartoon or a TV show or a movie. They jump into the comic and the Batman's so different, they can go like, I don't like this or whatever. That's why there are so many Batman stories where Batman is a vampire, or Batman is a pirate, or Batman's in the Victorian age, or in the case of Immortal Legend Batman, Batman's like a Power Ranger-esque character. And they set them all in like Elseworlds, which are like the alternate universes of the DC universe, so that they can play with Batman without actually playing with Batman. Rap King said, "Would you say Wolverine is top 5 superheroes of all time?" Wolverine is one of the most popular superheroes in the world, I think, personally. I believe Marvel's like top 3 titles are like Spider-Man, Captain America, and X-Men. And that's not me saying it. I think that's like a statistic that I read one day. But I feel like when people think of X-Men, one of the first things I think of is Wolverine. I just think Wolverine is, in the eyes of many people, the face of the X-Men. Is he my personal favorite character to read? Not really. I do like to read comics from time to time, though I haven't been reading comics as much recently, though I have been getting back into reading comics recently, so I'm kind of in a weird in between point. And Wolverine's cool. I just don't really read him like that. Rap King said, "What do you think of Superman? Do you think Superman is the greatest superhero of all time?" I am a fan of Superman. Younger me was a really big Batman fan who really loved Batman stuff. And then over time, I felt like Batman wasn't living up to what I wanted Batman to be. But then, as I got older, I became more of a Superman fan. And I feel like Superman does a better job of embodying being a hero. Like, what makes Superman cool are his values and his personality and his dedication to being a good person more than just his power set. The thing that I don't like about Superman is when people try to talk about him as if he's like the most powerful character in DC. Like, oh man, no one can beat Superman. I feel like there are tons of characters in the DC universe who can beat Superman. Superman is not the strongest there is, but he does act as like the symbol of what it means to be a superhero, to the point where even in the cultural zeitgeist, people like to say that Superman was the first superhero, but that's debatable. That's really debatable. Um, and we can actually dive into that a little bit, that debatability. So let me open up a tab real quick. List of superheroes by debut. Here we go. Share that instead. I just realized I'm gonna have to change my split view and stuff. Swap. Booyah. Okay. So this is a list of superhero debuts, and if you check it out, Hugo Hercules is like 1902. So if you go by this list of like the earliest superheroes, Superman is not like number one. Even though in this little bio, it straight up is listing like Superman is one of like the first ones. But Hugo Hercules is like the furthest back in like the 1900s. And we don't actually get to Superman until what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. How deep is it? 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. This is actually ridiculous. 49, 50. He's number 50. I didn't know it was going to be that deep. He's the 50th one in this list. Like, he's not the first superhero. There are all these examples of characters that we consider superheroes that we put on the list chronologically before him. But because he embodies that idea so fully, it doesn't matter that he's the 50th superhero if you take this list as like a definitive list, because in the minds and hearts of the people around the world, he is number one. It's like a cultural thing. So Superman, in many ways, is like perceived as the greatest hero of all time. And he does have a lot of good stories. And I do like to read Superman comics. I do like Superman. And I think if someone were to say that Superman is like the greatest superhero of all time, I wouldn't say that they're like lying necessarily. He may not be my favorite favorite superhero. See that slip? See that slip? That they're almost synonymous terms when you think about it. He may not be my favorite superhero, but he means a lot to the world and to the culture. Yes, I did like the 2025 Superman movie. I didn't like it as much as the Fantastic Four film. I think the Superman movie is really good, but what I don't like about it is that James Gunn's world feels too similar to our world. So think about it like this. The Superman movie establishes that metahumans have been around in the DC universe since I think they say like 300 years, right? But the world that Superman lives in doesn't really seem that different from the world we live in. There are superpowered people and they fight like giant monsters, and that stuff is different from our world, obviously. But the world would change significantly if like superpowered people were around for 300 years. In the Fantastic Four movie, the Fantastic Four have only been around for like 4 years, and they have completely changed their world. They were in a world that essentially was like our 1960s, and in the time of 4 years, they're in a retro futuristic 1960s. And that's only like four people. I mean, they fight other, mutants and stuff or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not just them, but still, I feel like these worlds should naturally change and become weirder over time and become less like the world outside your window. So when you're trying to set up a movie and you say that superpowered people have been around for 300 years, I expect to see a world that has been shaped by superpowered people for 300 years. That's probably my biggest complaint about the Superman movie. Also, they do an interesting thing with his lore that we could talk about if you're comfortable talking about spoilers for this movie that came out last year. Rap King said, "Who do you think would win, Cass Superman or The Darkest Night?" Cass Superman. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo. What do we mean by Cass Superman? I'm like, am I missing something? Who is Cass Superman? What does the acronym stand for? Oh, Cosmic Armor Superman. I'm stupid. Okay. So I've read the one book that Cosmic Armor Superman is in. And he is like a meta-textual character. I believe that book, yeah, is written by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison is one of my favorite authors. Or The Darkest Night? The Darkest Night is fairly powerful. He's like a Dr. Manhattan fused with a Batman who laughs. So he's pretty strong. Wait, is he even fused with a Batman who laughs? I know that the Darkest Night is like a Dr. Manhattan variant of Bruce Wayne. His body is taken, and the brain of an evil Batman is put in him. But it can't be the Batman Who Laughs, right? Because the Batman Who Laughs is currently stuck in the Fortnite universe. I'm trying to square that circle. Hold on. Who is the Darkest Night? It is the Batman Who Laughs. But how did he... How is the Darkest Night the Batman Who Laughs if he is stuck in the Fortnite universe? Because if you read the DC Fortnite crossover, that's how that ends. He gets stuck in the Fortnite universe. Okay, so the Batman Who Laughs and the Darkest Night are the same character, but they appear at different points in his timeline. I don't know how they're going to square that circle. His presence in the Fortnite universe is canonically explained through a specific set of events that occurred alongside his transformation in the DC universe. Explain it. Cook. His brain was transplanted. That's what I said earlier. So he was put into the body of like a Bruce Wayne, Dr. Manhattan. The events of Batman Fortnite Foundation reveal that a version of Batman Who Laughs entered the Fortnite loop. Yes. Oh, did he escape the loop? Well, then that would make sense. Okay, so in case you guys don't know how the Fortnite loop works, by the way, I'm not sure if I've ever made a video talking about this. I got paid like $4,000 to do a Fortnite story thing. So there was like a contest for you to do like a Lego Fortnite lore. And I entered the contest. It was through Tongle. And it took a while for me to get paid, but I eventually got paid. and I like won the contest. So I helped write some lore for Lego Fortnite. I don't play Lego Fortnite for real. I dabble in Fortnite every once in a while. I really like the 5 minute mode. I talked about that a lot in the last live stream. But I dabble with Fortnite a little bit. I like the fact that I have like my fingers in it, like that I've actually contributed to the lore somewhat. And I also made a Ninja Turtle themed game in Fortnite. So I'm obsessed with Ninja Turtles because I can say that I've like put my hands on Ninja Turtles. I can actually make money from that game if it does well. Nobody plays that game, by the way. I didn't do a very good job making it. I didn't use Unreal Engine Fortnite, and I'd never made a Fortnite game before. But I had fun making it regardless. Anyways, I know a little bit about Fortnite. That's the main thing I'm getting into. So the way that the Fortnite loop works is that you have the 0 point, and the 0 point connects to like the greater multiverse, and that's how you have all these different characters appearing on the island. The way that you explain that multiple people can play the same character is that when someone is pulled from the multiverse through 0 point onto the island, they get stuck into a loop. And if you can escape the loop, then you leave a copy of yourself known as a snapshot on the island. So you can end up with a situation where there are several snapshots of characters on the island. So the way that the Batman Who Laughs can be stuck on Fortnite Island, but also be the Darkest Knight, is that he could have gotten stuck in the Fortnite loop and then gotten out, and then he left snapshots, and then he leaves Fortnite. I guess he has to leave Fortnite in order to later become the Darkest Knight. I guess that's like literally the only explanation that they could have for that. And that makes sense. But man, does that confuse me. Because for whatever reason, I thought the Batman Who Laughs was like permanently stuck in Fortnite. And that's what he wanted. Like he wanted to be in Fortnite. But I guess he's just a snapshot or whatever. Boo, 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 boo. But thank you. That threw me down like a whole rabbit hole. So to boil down your question is really who would win, Cosmic Armor Superman or Dr. Manhattan? Because the whole like it's the Batman Who Laughs brain inside the Dr. Manhattan body, his brain isn't doing a lot of heavy lifting there. The heavy lifting is really being done by the fact that it's Dr. Manhattan, and Dr. Manhattan is like super mega strong. I would argue that Cosmic Armor Superman has like a crazy amount of wank for just doing like one thing, right? He does the one thing in the one comic where he fights like a monitor vampire villain guy. Again, it's been a while since I've actually read that Cosmic Armor Superman story. But he does it in like a really crazy, I'm above the cosmology way that a lot of other characters can't match up with. And I would argue that Dr. Manhattan doesn't have scaling that leads him to be as strong as something like a Cosmic Armor Superman. So I would say Cosmic Armor Superman should just beat him. With that being said, though, Dr. Manhattan now is not only like the strongest person in the Watchmen universe, but thanks to Doomsday Clock, he's established to be the reason why the New 52 exists, and he changed like the whole continuity and everything. He and Superman almost fought in Doomsday Clock, and he was just messing people up in Doomsday Clock. Dr. Manhattan is just way more powerful for whatever reason than like all these other characters in DC. But I still think Cosmic Armor Superman is probably just stronger than Dr. Manhattan. Rap King said, "Did you like Man of Steel more than the Superman 2025 movie?" No, Man of Steel is a fairly boring film to try to go back and watch. I haven't gone back to watch the new Superman movie yet, but I could see myself potentially doing so, though I do think I would probably be disappointed by a home viewing. Superman was the first movie that I ever saw in D box. And if you're not familiar with D box, box is essentially these special seats that you can sit in at movie theaters. We have a Cinemark theater by where I live, and the seats will like vibrate and twist and move. And whoever set up the D box for the Superman movie, yeah, it's just the best. It's the best D box experience that I've ever had. And it was my first D box experience too. You feel the seat from the very beginning of the film. And at any moment where it would make sense for the seat to do something, it does it. And it does it in a way that's immersive and makes sense. I really like D box when it's done right. The Fantastic Four movie barely had any D-Box in it, and it was kind of a disappointment from that perspective. But Superman is like a must-see in D-Box film if you can do it. But of course, Superman's no longer in theaters. That movie came out last year. So I feel like I'll be a little disappointed watching Superman at home because when I was watching it in the theater, I was like, seat just going all over the place or whatever. So it's just not going to be the same vibe, when just sitting on my couch. I could try to imitate it like I was just doing, but it wouldn't be the same thing. Rap King said Henry Cavill was a good Superman. So let's talk about the different like Superman performances we've seen so far. I think the current James Gunn Superman does a good job of being I'm the always hero. I'm a hero. I save squirrels, dang it. It doesn't matter what's happening. I'm going to save everybody that I can because I'm that guy and I'm super nice. I do think that's like the embodiment of what Superman should be. Is this guy who tries his best to save everyone and to do the best that he can. I think he's corny. Like I think Superman in the James Gunn world is cornier than he should be. I'm not saying that Superman isn't a corny guy, but the way that Superman is corny is like how Captain America in the MCU is corny, where he'll say like language, if you curse. I don't think he should be corny the way that James Gunn has him, where I just feel like some of the stuff he says, I couldn't really imagine Superman saying that. Superman's a little bit cooler than James Gunn gives him credit for. When it comes to Henry Cavill Superman, I don't think he has much of a character, to be honest. What are his personality traits? What does he like? What does he do for fun? Henry Cavill Superman, I couldn't tell you next to anything about him. Why does he like his Lois Lane? What does he sacrifice as Superman? I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about the James Gunn Superman in terms of his personality and what he likes and his relationships. To me, the James Gunn Superman feels so detached from everything else around him to where he just doesn't really have a character. You know who Superman is. He's dressed as Superman, and you can project your views of Superman onto Henry Cavill. But Henry Cavill, to me, didn't really portray Superman in a full way. Rap King said, what do you think of Christopher Reeve Superman and Tom Welling Superman? Okay, these are good questions. I have seen all of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies except for the Donner cut of Superman 2, which I've heard is like the best one or whatever. And I would say that Christopher Reeve does a fine job as Superman, and he's corny, but I don't think he's, as corny as the Superman from the newer movie. I think he does a balanced job as Superman. I do think those movies suffer a little bit from like dated special effects and dated pacing. I think slower movies were a more common thing back in the day, but now more modern films try to have like more action throughout. And we also just kind of have skewed attention spans versus when we were younger. So I don't know. I personally think those movies could be better. But you're more talking about how they are portraying Superman. Christopher Reeves, I think he does a good job as Superman. But for Tom Welling, I don't dislike Tom Welling's like Superboy portrayal. It's kind of hard to say that Tom Welling has ever been Superman. That might be a hot take for some people, but keep in mind that the Smallville show ends with him putting the suit on. It's not like he like was Superman for like the whole show. It's similar to Gotham. Both shows are like, what if we explore the character before they really become who they're meant to be? And we have them do a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't expect them to do until after they've like fully taken on their mantle. But then in the very last episode, for like one shot, they take on the mantle, and now I guess they're the thing. So Tom Welling isn't really Superman. Tom Welling hasn't been Superman. He just was a Superboy. Okay, Rap King said, do you like My Adventures with Superman, the animated series? I watched the first season and I watched some of the second season, and I got into the like Kara is there arc, and Kara's learning that like Brainiac is bad and stuff like that. But I fell off for whatever reason because I did like the show for what it was. Just at a certain point, I just stopped watching it, and I didn't feel a need or a pull to watch more of it. Maybe one day I will, especially since they're gonna do My Adventures with Green Lantern at some point. Like it's kind of becoming a universe. But until then, I may not check out My Adventures with Superman. It's not bad by any means. It just didn't hold me. Rap King said, "Do you think Mr. Mixelpidolix can solo all of anime?" No, I do not. I don't think Mr. Mixie can solo all of anime. Mr. Mixie is really strong, but there are some crazy anime characters. Madaka Box, All Powers. Yeah. This image is infamous. Show it in its full glory in a new tab. Yeah. Add to split view, please. No. I'm trying to modify the split view so that you guys can see this. Oh, wait. That's how I do it. Yeah. I was just messing up. Can I add it to the split view that I already had from before? That would be good. Let me separate views. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I like the split view thing. I think it's great when I can get it to work. Yes. Booyakasha. Okay, now I can see the live stream and I can see this. So this is a character from Madaka Box. Everything you see on the screen is like a power that she has. I haven't read Madaka Box or watched the anime, but as you can see on the screen, she has travel through time, foretell the future, manipulate rankings, immortal, control the dead, manipulate evolution, modify, continue fighting even if you die, punishment upon others, the win skill, the win. So it's the skill to just win or whatever. Like, I don't know. Do you think, Rap King, that Mr. Mixelpidolic or whatever could beat her with all this stuff that you see on the screen? Do you think he beats her? And she probably has more stuff than just what's written. I've heard that Madaka Box has a lot of like broken characters in it who can just do a whole bunch of stuff. So if in order to beat all of anime, Mixie has to beat her, I'm not sure if he can beat her. So you mentioned that Mixie has reality warping. I see on the screen, I actually zoom in. I lost it because there's so much text here. Create universe skill. She has a skill that lets her create a universe. Is it fair to say that someone who creates universes is like a reality warper? I'm sure that somewhere here she has reality warping. Let me just find it for you. do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to find universe skill control. Universe skill control might be reality warping. The phrasing is a little weird. But I imagine all of this stuff was originally maybe written in like Japanese and then it got translated to English. And then the English translation could be a little weird or something. Like that could just straight up be reality manipulation as far as I know. But universe skill control sounds like it could be. Let's see. Take over others' body skill. Couldn't she use take over others' body skill to just control Mixopidolic? And then bada bing, bada boom, you got him. Rap King said Mr. Mixopidolix might lose to her, but Lucifer Morningstar from DC Comics would beat her. So I've heard that Lucifer has like crazy, feats and versus battle scaling and stuff like that. But what makes him that guy? Like what makes him that crazy? Uh, who is this character, by the way? I need to let's do some research, Rap King. Do 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 do. So I'm going to separate these views. Let's take it back to g.ai, share this tab instead. Then we're gonna exit out of this. We're gonna do new split view, bada bing, bada boom. So you guys can see this. So Rap King said he's an angel and the son of God. I mean, there are a lot of characters who are like aspects of God. So for example, Eclipso, I guess I'm gonna go back to images rather than AI mode. But Eclipso from DC is like essentially the same thing as like the Spectre. He was like the Spectre more or less before the Spectre was. So the Spectre is like the vengeance of God. And then Eclipso is like the old spirit of vengeance of God. And Darkseid recently did like the Spectre. He like took the Spectre's powers during the DC All In initiative. So he scales higher than just like an aspect of God angel thing already. Rap King said, but Lucifer is the literal son of God, aka the presence in the DC universe. Okay, so riddle me this. What's stronger, right? The son of God or an aspect of God? Because one is like the offspring of a godlike being, and one is just like straight up the power of a godlike being. Here's another way to look at it, right? Goku is a Super Saiyan God, right? Gohan is Goku's son. Before you get into Dragon Ball Superhero, where now Gohan is maybe the strongest guy, actually, one could argue that like Super Saiyan God Goku is stronger than like Gohan, right? Gohan is the son, Goku is the guy, right? But then you have Goku Black, and Goku Black has like the power of Goku, like straight out, right? And I think it's fair to say that Goku Black during the Goku Black arc is stronger than Gohan, even though Gohan is the son of Goku and Goku is like Super Saiyan God or whatever. All I'm saying is, I think if someone straight up like came to brawl and they were like, I have the power of God, and then they had to fight the son of a god, I feel like the power of like the grown god would be stronger than like the son of the god. It depends though, right? Because like I said, even with the Gohan example, by the time you hit superhero and Gohan has his beast form, Gohan has surpassed Goku, at least for now. We'll see if that sticks. So it can vary, but I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is the way that Darkseid beat the Spectre and then Darkseid became King Omega and he created his own universe, like the absolute universe is a universe that Darkseid himself created. Do you think Darkseid could beat Lucifer? Because I haven't read the Lucifer stuff, so I will say, I'm not super informed. The only thing that I know about like Lucifer Morningstar is from watching power scaling videos where people talk about how strong Lucifer Morningstar is. Also, how strong is the presence really? Is a fair question I think that we should ask ourselves, right? Because Perpetua created the multiverse. Like Perpetua is the hands that you see at the beginning of the universe. It's her hands. So is God, like the presence, even as strong as Perpetua? Question mark. And if Perpetua is stronger than the presence, if we can argue that, I'm not sure if you agree with that or not. then if you can beat Perpetua, then can you beat the Presence? Because it's arguable that Perpetua is maybe not even that strong. I mean, let's look at Dark Crisis, right? Dark Crisis on Earth. It's an event that happened like a while ago. Who all was under the thumb during the Dark Crisis? Like they were like a pawn of like a greater power. This image is too small. It's too small. Open link in new tab. Well, I don't want to go to the whole wiki page. I just want this picture. Open image in new tab. That's what I really need to do. Sharing this tab instead. Separate split view. Boop, boop. Split view with this. Okay, cool. So if you look over here, there were a bunch of villains that were put under the control of the Great Darkness or whatever, right? And you have what looks like Doomsday. Was that Doomsday Trigon? Because I think, yeah, that's Doomsday, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Trigon? I can't remember. He has the horns that makes me think Trigon, but that might not be Trigon. He doesn't have a lot of eyes. Trigon normally has more eyes. Calypso, who's an aspect of the Presence, an Vengeance of God thing. Necron, who can straight up summon the dead. Ares, Darkseid, who I was just talking about how strong Darkseid is. I can't remember his name. He essentially is like, is he also named Necron? Are there two guys named Necron? He's like over hell. This guy presides over hell. He's kind of like the devil in DC, which is funny because you're also talking about like Lucifer, who also is commonly described as like the devil or whatever. The Great Darkness can control all of these guys. All of these guys. I feel like you could maybe argue that the Great Darkness scales maybe above the Presence, because the Presence isn't doing a whole lot, right? We know that he exists as like the god of the DC universe, but does that matter after you introduce Perpetua into everything, and Perpetua is like the goddess of like the whole multiverse or whatever? The Presence may just underrank like Perpetua, and Perpetua is a member of the Hands, so the Hands collectively could be seen as like a bigger thing. But let's look into this a little bit further. Let's dig a little deeper. Separating the views. Go into AI mode. Share this tab instead. Do a split view. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So, who scales higher? Perpetua or the Presence? Yeah, that is not what I said. So it says that the Presence scales significantly higher than Perpetua. While Perpetua is an incredibly powerful super celestial and the creator of the original DC multiverse, not the universe, the multiverse, she is ultimately a servant and creation of a higher power. My brain is like, I don't agree with that. Okay, origins and authority. One of the Hands from the greater omniverse, tasked by the Source to create multiverses. Yeah. The Presence is often identified as a personification, a direct manifestation of the Source. So I guess the scaling is the Source and then the Hands. So the Presence. So hold on. So you're trying to tell me that the Presence isn't the god of the DC universe? That would be inaccurate, because the Hands are like omniversal beings. The Hands go like beyond just the DC universe. The Hands should be over like story as a concept. You could even argue that the Hands should be over like other fictions and things of that nature. So you're telling me the Source is over All of the stuff. I don't know how I feel about the source being above the hands. That sounds wonky to me. But I can't prove why I disagree with it, but something about that doesn't sound right. Is Perpetua even that tough then? So this becomes like a similar thing. Rap King said, "Do you like the Boys TV show?" I do like the Boys. I used to not be the biggest fan of the Boys TV show. What I really like about the Boys is there is a YouTuber that I like, and this is a good opportunity for me to shout out a YouTuber. So there is a YouTuber that I like who does breakdowns of comic book stories, and he'll break down like a whole graphic novel, and he broke down all of the boys books, including like the spin-off book stuff, and that was really good. But I need to remember his name. Do 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 do. I will look him up so that I can shout him out. The boys comic breakdown, and then go to videos. It's not Comics Explained. Maybe I need to go to YouTube proper. The Boys Comic Complete Story or whatever. Because I do like shouting out creators. And I feel like I don't do it enough. Danny Malt. Yeah, shout out to Danny Malt. So let me open a link in a new tab. Share tab instead. Go check out Danny Malt's channel. If you like comic recap and review stuff, he does a lot of cool stuff. I do fall off on Danny Malt though, and the only reason why I fall off on him is that he'll do a book that I'm like really enjoying, and you're coming back every week to see him like break down the book, and then he'll pick up a new book and you just won't be as interested in the new book, and then you don't watch him for like weeks, and then by that time he's already done a whole bunch of new stuff. It looks like recently he's been doing Manifest Destiny. I don't know much about Manifest Destiny. I think I've heard of the title before, but I couldn't tell you much. And apparently he did a lot of Conan the Barbarian stuff. And he talked to my friend Dozer. Hey, he did a bunch of Lucifer stuff. Maybe I can catch up on Lucifer and understand the scaling a little bit more if I watch his Lucifer videos. That also shows you that I have not watched him for months because I haven't seen any of these Lucifer videos, nor did I know that he had done all of them. He also did Astro City. That's another thing that my friend Dozer has been into. But yeah, shout out to Danny Malt. I just wanted to credit him. I liked The Boys from Danny Malt's videos and coverage of The Boys. And then only later did I get more into The Boys show. I wasn't as into the show until another point in time. But I like it, and I also liked the animated The Boys thing they did. I am excited about season 5 of The Boys. I've heard it's supposed to be the wrap up, so they're finally like ending it. Blah, blah. So we'll see where that goes. I have not watched any trailers for season 5. I saw an image of like a female Homelander character, and I have no context for that. I don't know if that was AI. I don't know if the next season is going to have a female Homelander, but that's like the only thing I've really seen about this new season. Let's see. Rap King said, please settle this debate. Who do you think would win in a fight? Homelander or Spider-Man? Dooba-dooba-doo. Dooba-doo-doo. I think Spider-Man might become like paced on the road. I don't think Spider-Man can throw hands with Homelander like that. So there's another YouTuber that I really like. So give me a moment. I'll try to shout them out. Their name is like My Lily or something like that. I'll try and just put them on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. His name is like weirdly written. Okay. So this YouTuber does a lot of cool comic video content. He also does some content where he talks about his life, as well as like some rap content. But he's a cool creator. You guys should go subscribe to him if you're into like comic book stuff. He did a video talking about DCKO, which was a recent event where Superman ended up fighting Homelander. We have like canonical, like comic book Superman, comic book Homelander throwing hands with each other, right? So let me do Homelander versus Superman. This tab. We have the two throwing hands in the comic. We have like seen them go like fist for fist. We also saw them go laser vision for laser vision. And when they met their laser visions together, Superman said their laser vision was evenly matched. Superman said their laser vision was evenly matched. You got to think about this. In the DCKO event, Superman is absorbing Omega energy because he's trying to become King Omega, right? So that he can fight Darkseid. So this is an amped Superman. He's a fatigued Superman, but he's also an amped Superman. You see these little bands on Superman's hands? Those have miniature suns in them from like dead universes that are amping Superman. This is not a base Superman, this is an amped Superman. And for some reason, he was having trouble fighting Homelander. There's a part where they're trying to send everyone back to their respective universes. And you have the World Forger, a being who straight up creates universes. World Forger is like the definition of like a universal guy or whatever, is trying to send Homelander back to his universe. And Homelander resists. He resists being sent back to his universe by a universal being because he says he's not done. He's enjoying the fight too much. You can't send me back yet. I'm not even breaking a sweat. And when I watched my Lily's video talking about this, my Lily was like, this is an amped Homelander. All these guys are amped. This isn't their like normal base form. This is an amped version of Homelander. I read the book and I do not remember them saying that these characters are amped. I legitimately don't remember them saying that like Homelander was stronger than normal Homelander, or like Sabrina the Teenage Witch was stronger than the normal Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't remember them ever saying that in the book. And even if they are amped, even if this is stronger than Homelander would normally be, you got to keep in mind, this is stronger than normal Superman would be. He has the sun knuckles and stuff. He's absorbed all this Omega energy or whatever. So unless Homelander's amp is the equivalent of Superman having multiple suns on his fist and absorbing all this Omega energy or whatever, then this is like them being put on a similar playing field. Like Homelander and Superman, at least in this, the only time they've ever actually fought each other, they're supposed to be at a similar level. So Homelander is super strong, and I don't think Spider-Man can handle Superman. I think Spider-Man and Superman have fought before, but when they did, I believe Spider-Man was amped by like a form of kryptonite that specifically amps humans. This is one of the first superhero crossovers, by the way. And we're getting another one later this year. We're getting Superman, Spider-Man, and we're also getting Spider-Man, Superman. King said, yes, thank you. I don't know why people think Homelander is weak. He isn't the strongest by far, but he's not weak. And I agree, Homelander is not a super weak guy. Now, do people put Homelander in fights against people that he probably can't beat? Yes. But what version of Homelander are they using? I think is like a good question. Because the issue is Homelander is like the strongest guy in his universe. But the boys show doesn't really have Homelander throwing hands with anybody who does, anything particularly crazy. So you can only scale Homelander so far based off of the feats in his show. But him throwing hands with Superman like that shows me that Homelander is supposed to be a similar level to Superman. Let's see. Rap King said, "How's my family doing?" My family's doing okay. It really depends on who you talk about. Specifically, my parents. My mom is having trouble with her knee, and she has surgery that's coming up. So I'm wishing mom the best on that. But mom has had like a lot that she's been dealing with in life recently, and some of that has now like come off of her shoulders. Some of her responsibility she doesn't have to worry about it anymore, and that's good. I hope that mom is able to like rest and that she like feels better soon, and that we'll be able to like spend more time. Because she's been working even with her knee trouble. She's been like working as much as she can because she's trying to work toward finally retiring. My dad just is retired now, so he's doing great. Dad's having no problem, but mom is still in the process of getting to the point where she can retire and truly just like enjoy life. And I really want her to be able to retire as soon as she can. So fingers crossed on that. But thank you for asking. I hope that things are going well with you and your family. For Spider-Man and Superman, I think Spider-Man got amped when they fought. Let's see, in their first meeting, Lex Luthor used red sun radiation to negate Superman's invulnerability. Wait. So it's not that Spider-Man got amped. It's that Superman got nerfed. So that happened in the reverse of what I thought. That's interesting. Well, red sun radiation makes Superman like a normal guy. It doesn't do it like all at once, but it weakens him to where he becomes more and more normal. So that's not even like a small nerf. That's a pretty big nerf just for Spider-Man to kind of throw hands with him. Because Spider-Man's way stronger than a normal person. So you have Superman who's being lowered more toward normal person tier, and Spider-Man who's way beyond that. So that's like a crazy imbalance, in my opinion. Let's see. Rap King said, "Is your sister doing well?" My sister's doing okay as far as I can tell. She started her own business, and it seems like she's enjoying that so far. I do need to touch base with her and see how she's doing. And my niece is doing fine. I do have another brother. I don't talk about him as much. We don't really hang out that much, but we have a good rapport. He's working on a comic, and maybe one day I'll do a video going over his comics. I would need his permission to talk about his comic in a video, like where I actually show the comic off, because it's something that he's working on actively, and I'm sure he would rather it be in its best state before I do a video on it. But he's working on a detective supernatural comic, and he's a big believer in Black creators in comics. So he wants it to be like a uniquely Black book, not just a book by a Black person. Rap King said, "How old am I?" I am almost 29, but I'm not 29 yet. I turned 29 in May, and I am going to be off the week of my birthday and the week before my birthday, in order to like not only enjoy my birthday, but also my job requires me to take like 2 weeks off every year, and I wait until the last minute, essentially every year, so that I'm able to uh, essentially make sure that if there's an emergency, that I can use the mandatory off time to deal with the emergency. But I never really have emergencies like that where I have to take the mandatory off time. So I just always end up taking it around my birthday. But during that time, I probably will stream, so that's cool. So that's something to look forward to. I don't know if I'm going to stream any more than I'm already streaming. I think my goal is to maybe do like an hour. I think yesterday I did like almost 2 hours, but I think an hour is fair because the longer I go, the more water I need. I need to drink water, and then I got to go use the restroom and stuff. So I think an hour is like a solid, like, oh, I can stop at that point and then go do things. Rap King said, "Was 2025 a good year for you?" And I remember you saying that one of these years wasn't a good year for you. Okay, 2025 was a good year for me. I had a year, it was the year where I like changed jobs. So my previous job was a situation where they didn't have enough funding for everybody, but I don't think they were very forthright about that. And people were leaving the job and going to jobs that I felt like didn't sound as good. And I was like, why is it that you would leave your like good job to do something that just like is nowhere near as good as what we're currently doing? But what was happening behind the scenes is that people were getting laid off privately. And it's like, hey, you have like a month for you to like find a new thing. And if you don't find a new thing, then on the books, you're laid off. But what'll happen is within that month, you find something new, and then they don't tell people you're getting laid off. They say they're moving on to greater pastures or whatever. They found like a better job. I only learned this after my layoff situation because I ended up talking to my friend Colin, who was rooming with one of my like prior like coworkers who was in the same situation that I was in. So they were doing like weird backdoor layoff stuff. So I ended up in like the same year getting COVID while being laid off, while like getting onboarded to a new job, while offboarding from my current job, and water had leaked into my apartment. So I had to like leave my apartment because they were like renovating my space to deal with like the water leak stuff to stay at Ashley's apartment back when Ashley had her own place. So all that stuff was happening like at the exact same time. So I had COVID and I couldn't sleep well during that whole period, which by the way, I don't think I would survive COVID now. If I got COVID again now, I think I would be so mad. I'd be really mad because it messed up my sleep. I had like headaches where like I just couldn't sleep. And at the time, I hadn't like figured out the lucid dreaming stuff. But now one of the like cornerstones of every day, like the thing that I probably value more than any like material possession thing is that every night I can go to like my own universe where I can do whatever I want. And that is like the treasure of my day. And I think if I legitimately like couldn't sleep, I would not be the same person. I would be so upset. So I'm glad that the one time I did have COVID, it was when I wasn't doing the lucid dreaming stuff. Put those two things together, and I would just lose it, to be honest. But 2025 was a great year. That's where I like developed my lucid dreaming ability. Since May of last year up to now, I have lucid dreamed literally every single night. And even with my new messed up sleep schedule, I've been addicted to coding with Codex and using OpenClaw and stuff like that. Essentially, I've been doing a lot of programming projects that take me late into the night. Even with less sleep, because I'm doing the programming stuff, I'm still doing the lucid dreaming stuff. The thing that would mess me up with COVID is the whole not being able to sleep at all. I would have straight up sleepless nights where I could not sleep. Rap King said, "What was the first job you ever had?" I went to volunteer at my local library in high school, and I did that until I graduated at high school. Until I graduated from high school, and I had a badge that said I was an intern, but I was never paid by the library to do what I was doing. It was just more or less a title. And then I did an internship because I had to for my scholarship with the Center for Cybersecurity Research and Education, where I was working with like a government contract thing. And then I later worked for the center as like my first like real job, not an internship. After I graduated from college, and then I worked on like multiple contract things through the center. Then that's when I got laid off, and now I'm working my current job, which is fairly similar to my last job in many ways, but the pay is significantly better. And also, there's no expectation of ever going into the office. That was one thing I didn't like about my old job is that I was more or less working remote the whole time. During my internship, I worked in the office. Once I actually started working, I didn't really physically go to work for real. Then COVID happened, Not me getting COVID, just COVID is like a world event essentially. And after COVID, they wanted everyone to come back to the office. And I was like, yeah, but I was never in the office. I wasn't that kind of guy. I didn't work in the office. So it became a bigger push for us to go in, even though we didn't use it. They put my name on a door, knowing I wasn't going to go and work in that office or whatever. It was really lame. And they even tried to have meetings where you had to go in at least once every week. That just sucked. I didn't like doing that. My current job is like fully remote, never have to go into an office. Fantastic. Great. Let's see. Rap King said, do you like Invincible? I do like Invincible. So I have read every issue of Invincible, not counting stuff like Guardians of the Globe or Tech Jacket, because there are other books that are connected to Invincible. Of the Invincible main series, I read all of that. I started reading that in college, I think. And then I never finished until I actually got COVID. The year where I got COVID, I was off work because I had COVID. I was just deathly sick. And at the same time, I was trying to onboard for a new job. It was really stressful. But because I wasn't working, I did have some time to read. So I finished Invincible while I had COVID. I like binge read it. Really good. I recommend that people read the comic, like all of it. I also recommend reading Astounding Wolfman. That's made by Robert Kirkman, the creator of Invisible, same guy. Definitely check that out. Rap King said, do you think the animated series is a good adaptation? I like the animated series. I don't know how I feel about this next coming season. I'm excited for it, but the next coming season is going to cover material that wasn't in the comic, which is very interesting. Apparently, Robert Kirkman had plans for an arc in the Invincible comic that he never got to. And he's like, now that we have the show, we can just do that arc. We can do the arc that he wanted to do in the comic. But I'm curious how much is going to change things because the Invincible comic is almost like a set of dominoes. You know, a thing happens, it leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and there's this natural flow. So if you put a new domino in there, can you do it organically? Can you make that really work? So that's something that I'm interested in seeing. Rap King said, what do you think is better, Invincible or The Boys? Invincible. What? Most definitely Invincible. I feel like The Boys, especially because it's a Garth Ennis thing. Is it Garth Ennis? Pretty sure Garth Ennis is the guy who does The Boys. Did Garth Ennis... Is it two S's? I actually don't know. Right? The Boys. Just want to make sure I'm not lying. Yeah. Because it's a Garth Ennis thing, Garth Ennis is very cynical when it comes to superheroes in general and superhero stories. And I don't necessarily like his cynicism when it's dialed up to 11 alongside like gore and other stuff. I feel like he can take things too far. I think The Boys, when there's stuff like language or violence or even like sex or something, it's not doing it for shock value. It's not doing it to like parody superheroes. It's not doing it to make superheroes seem dumb, which is kind of like the whole point of The Boys, is to show that like superheroes are kind of actually a bad thing. Invincible is a celebration of superheroes, but it also portrays them as people. They do things that people would do. And also, Invincible's DNA is Savage Dragon. If you have not read Savage Dragon, you got to read Savage Dragon, because a lot of the stuff that Invincible is doing, or people are like, oh man, I've never seen a superhero comic do this before. Savage Dragon not only did it before Invincible, is what inspired Invincible. And if you read all of Invincible, the very last graphic novel of Invincible has an acknowledgement that thanks Eric Larson, the creator of Savage Dragon, and tells you to go read that book. So shout out Savage Dragon. Please go read Savage Dragon if you like Invincible. It essentially is more. And also Savage Dragon is still going. It's been running, I think, since like 1992. And it takes place in a world that's similar to our world. So like real world events happen in Savage Dragon. Like COVID happened in Savage Dragon. Presidential election stuff affects Savage Dragon. Things of that nature. So it's more based in our reality. Also, Savage Dragon is just in Invincible. If you read the Invincible comics, Savage Dragon exists in that universe. And Invincible has done crossover stuff with Savage Dragon. I can't recommend it enough. Savage Dragon is a great book. Now, have I read Savage Dragon recently? No, but I also haven't been reading a lot of comics recently. It's a complicated thing. I really do need to read a lot of comics. Speaking of which, while I'm shouting out comics, I might as well shout out Galaxy Girl. So Galaxy Girl is made by my friend Oz. Oz is really cool. I'm a big fan of Oz, and I've been reviewing a lot of Oz's books. But I fell off on reviewing the books. I plan to review more. I just haven't had the chance. But to give a shout out to Oz, shout out to Oz. I believe Oz goes by Mr. Ozymandias. Check out Galaxy Girl on Storynext. It also has its own subreddit, things of that nature. It's a good book. And I've been reviewing it on my Substack. If you want to check out my reviews and get more in-depth thoughts on it, and maybe I'll do a live stream review. Maybe that's exactly what I'll do to get me back into doing the reviews. I can do them live here. So let me know if that's something that you guys want. I know that that's something that Oz would really appreciate. Oz really likes the reviews, but I just haven't had the time. Even now with like the streaming stuff, I just got back into doing this. So it's something I got to work on. Let's see. Rap King said, what about the Boys live action TV series or the Invincible animated series? Invincible animated series, I still think I like more than the Boys. I think also for similar reasons, to be honest. I think the Boys has a lot of like shock value stuff in it. Invincible, I feel like, is a story that naturally has some of these things that may seem shocking, but they just kind of fit in universe. But oh wait, Rap King said, I've fallen off on anime. Do you have any good anime recommendations? What's the last good anime you watched? That's a good question as well. I too have fallen off on a lot of anime. There's a new season of Jujutsu Kaisen out, and I thought that would be like the thing to bring me back in, but I haven't even finished watching the new season of Jujutsu Kaisen that's on Crunchyroll. Even though I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a great anime, I'm a big fan. I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Not part one. Part one is trash. I recommend parts 2 and parts 4. And Steel Ball Run, which is a new JoJo part, is supposed to come out in the not too distant future. So if you have never watched JoJo, check out JoJo. I really like Shaman King. That's on Netflix. It's like 52 episodes. I really enjoyed that. Shaman King Flowers is on Netflix, but I don't think it's in English. And that turned me off of Flowers, but that's like the sequel show. But if they have an English dub, maybe I'll pick up Flowers. That could be nice. Talentless Nana. Talentless Nana is really good. I'm not going to spoil that. Just check that out. It's a good show. That's one of those I'd rather you go in blind. When I was younger, I really liked Samurai Flamenco. I don't know how well it still stands. It's like a show about like real life superhero stuff that continually escalates. So that may be worth your time if that sounds interesting to you. I think I named Hunter x Hunter. I'm sure you probably have already seen Hunter x Hunter, but I really like the Greed Island arc of Hunter x Hunter. Yu Yu Hakusho is a good anime. I watch a lot of Dragon Ball stuff, but Dragon Ball can be hit or miss. I've seen all of GT. I've seen all of Super. I've seen all of Kai, but I haven't seen all of Z, and I haven't seen all of like Dragon Ball where he's like a little kid. I do not like Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is a show that everyone likes because it's really pretty, but I am unimpressed by the little bit that I have seen of Demon Slayer. It's just not really my show. But we have hit over an hour in the show. Don't forget to hit that like button. Truly appreciate it. Show your support. Feel free to share this with like friends and let people know that I'm like doing the live streams again. Thank you for hitting the like button. Truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate it. Because the more you guys let me know that this is like something that you want me to do, I can like keep doing it and try to like maintain like a momentum on it. My Hero Academia is something that I fell off on. I actually made my own little one-page comic that talked about what if he didn't accept the power. I use my own original characters, so it's not like a fan fiction of My Hero, but it is directly inspired by My Hero. And I like the direction of the story if Midoriya specifically tries to just be a hero with his expertise of heroes. He already knew a whole bunch about other heroes and strategy and stuff. So I don't think he ever needed powers in the first place. And I know how My Hero Academia ends based on like manga spoiler stuff. And I'm not going to spoil it, but based on how it ends, for sure, he should have never had powers. That's my take. I just don't even think it makes sense for him to have powers. I tried Chainsaw Man, couldn't really get into Chainsaw Man. Don't really like the main guy that much, if I'm being honest. But I tried. I tried Chainsaw Man. It wasn't really about what I wanted it to be about. I've heard that there's some good Chainsaw Man stuff. I heard there was a movie that was really good. John Mason was hyping that up. So maybe I'll check out that movie. I don't know. But I am going to wrap it up here. I got to use the restroom, drink some water and everything. But I'll try to do another stream tomorrow if I can. Let me actually check my schedule on that before I make any hard promises. I think I can do one tomorrow. I don't think there would be any issues with that. So yeah, I'll try to be back on tomorrow, similar time to today. Rap King said, "Bye, Nick. It was nice talking to you one-on-one." Yeah, I had a great time talking and hanging out, and it sounds like we'll be able to talk and hang out again tomorrow. And hey, maybe I'll do a review of Galaxy Girl. Let me know if that's something that you all want to see. But thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, let everybody know, have them all check it out. There's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black One Only. Logging out, everybody. Peace. Check it out.